Hey folks, it's Spitz with Pixels and Pills at the EDTC Revolutions Conference in Washington, D.C. It's my pleasure. I've got John Mangano, who's VP of the Healthcare Vertical from ComScore, and he shared some interesting insights in terms of what ComScore is doing in terms of data metrics and analytics. And the one takeaway that I had from your presentation too is we interviewed Todd Park from the Obama administration, who was with the HHS, and he's a big advocate of open data, which is really there's a mountain, a treasure trove of accessible information related to patient care, patient treatment, and the like. And the idea is to access this information, to analyze it, and to integrate it in meaningful ways in everything from research and development to helping patients and improving outcomes. Now, I know you discussed data in all of its various forms, so I'm wondering, just as a launching point, your feelings about that initiative on a high level, how ComScore kind of plays a part in it in its own way, and what that ultimately means in terms of some of your actions and deliverables.
Sure. Well, Todd Park's vision is right on, and
Yeah.
it's just the right time for that type of activity because as a country, we're starting to really get our data in a digital form. And
Right.
when you have digital data, you have the ability to see things in so many ways. You can cut the data and build the volume of data. So, I think the concerns people have is always about the privacy, but
Right.
if you can understand that your privacy will be protected and it's all anonymized, the idea of having 100,000 patients who are suffering from high cholesterol and knowing
Exactly, right.
everything that they're treating, other comorbids with that, and starting to say, okay, we've got trends of these 100,000 people who are doing this one particular activity or this one particular treatment, they are starting to do something a little different. And those who have been treated with this drug and in combination with another therapy are more
Right.
successful, the outcome for everyone and the knowledge that we all have is much greater. And this is in comparison to what we would have 10 years ago, which would be either a clinical test of 1,000 people or just what a physician sees with his own patients, which is, minuscule in comparison.
Absolutely, and there's the broader hope that you have all this information that's accessible, and then there's a question of what you actually do with that information into actionable results that hopefully overcome some of the obstacles of privacy and all that. If we take a look at it like that, what are some discrete things, tactical things that ComScore is doing right now to, in a sense, access some of this information and then translate it into real benefits ultimately for our end user, which is the patient?
So when you look at where ComScore was born out of, it was really the growth of the internet. So we track what people do online in a panel environment where we have full permission to do that and view how they are actually researching their health conditions and specific health conditions. Now, as we've grown in the last 13 years, we've gone from being a simple counter of traffic to analytics firm to the next level, which is basically a big data analytics company. And big data is the buzzword these days, but what it really means is having a grasp on using pretty massive databases, which is something we've done for so many years with our panelists, and starting to say, okay, well, how do we do an analysis on this data to start to figure out what these groups of people are doing and how they're doing things differently. And that becomes really valuable as we start to help our healthcare clients ultimately understand that, okay, it's not about just who visited your website. It's on the physician side, did they visit your website? Did they also go and be detailed by your pharmaceutical rep? And what did they do in their hospital environment? And we can combine all that data to give you the fullest picture of that.
Absolutely, and it's intriguing to see that the data we have now, even though it's in the petabytes of information, is nothing compared to what the potential is. Now with mobile health, with the idea of biometrics and the quantified self, that you're eliminating the boundary between measuring the person and the person being measured. It's amazing the amount of data that will imminently become accessible. How does that kind of factor into your bigger vision? It's not just about web metrics, it's not just about mobile engagement, but it's potentially about the mobile health continuum of the human body related in ways that we can't even really anticipate.
Well, and that's the most extraordinary part of it all, because now people measure themselves. When you look at what even an electronic medical record has, it will tell you what their vitals are, what their, ultimately what was measured at that doctor at the period of time where they're being measured, but that's a point in time. You add in the fact that a glucose meter or a blood pressure meter can actually share your daily statistics, or even more frequently than daily, to that database, and your doctor can do so much more with that information. Now you add in the fact that your shoe Nike has a product that does this already,
Yeah,
can actually identify how much you exercise.
Absolutely.
And you throw all that together with using your iPhone to identify specifically what you're eating, and all of a sudden you can take a database of potentially 1 million people and see, and again, it's not about the individual, it's about the mass as a whole, and saying, wow, of the 1 million people in this database, X% maybe ate a certain type of food who were on this type of treatment, who reacted differently, and you can start to see trends that are so minute that you'd never catch any other way.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. And along that line, what's in it? We see trajectory toward mobile health, the quantified self. What about ComScore? You've evolved from nuts and bolts analytics and metrics, right, of just website engagement and the like, now to insight mining and true engagement, and now into the open data stream and everything that can result in. What do you think the next step is?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about the internet, is that
you can
it's
speculate.
yeah, it's going in so many different directions. I would say, the key piece when you look at the mobile world is less about the devices. It's all about the connection that mobile device provides to a bigger network of information. So, it used to be, wow, your phone can do your email. Now you're going to be doing stuff where your phone is literally just the modem, to go back 20 years in terminology. That's going to connect you, and it's your Fitbit that just is automatically going to send that information, or your glucose meter. And that piece starts to get really interesting, because there are so many devices to help you measure, and the best devices are the ones that you don't really have to manage at all.
Absolutely. John Mangano over here at EDTC Revolutions, Washington, D.C. 2012, talking about the future of big data. Spits out. Thank you.